Right now, there is a creator with an audience of over 5 million people who has not manually pressed the publish button on a single piece of content in over 3 years.
Wow, 3
Yeah,
years.
3 whole years. I mean, every video, every single essay, every poll, it's all calculated, loaded, and deployed by software. Meanwhile, you, the person listening to this deep dive right now, you are probably exhausting yourself trying to time an Instagram post perfectly at like 2:00 p.m. on a
Oh,
Tuesday.
we've all been there, sitting there constantly refreshing the feed.
Exactly, refreshing it over and over and watching it get absolutely zero traction. It's so frustrating. But we have this really deep-seated assumption, right? This idea that if we don't personally hit send, we are somehow losing our authenticity.
Right, the whole personal touch myth.
Yes, the personal touch. And today we are taking a massive stack of research, which is primarily grounded in this really fascinating paper called Beyond the Feed, Automation Strategies for Creator Growth. And our mission today is to completely dismantle that exact myth.
It's such an important topic.
Yeah.
Because, creators really do think they're doing the right thing.
Totally. So we are going to look at the math, the platform architecture, and the cognitive psychology that proves why this so-called personal touch of manual posting is actually the biggest bottleneck that is suffocating your reach, destroying your data, and just completely burning out your creative energy.
Yeah, because the environment we're operating in, it operates on mathematical precision, right?
Yeah.
Not human sentiment. The source text actually makes this foundational point right on page 1. We are competing in this hyper-fast digital landscape where the underlying recommendation engines, the algorithms, they're evaluating data points in literal milliseconds.
Milliseconds, we can't even process that.
We can't. And creators operate under this illusion that manual posting keeps them grounded, connected to their audience. But the reality of the network architecture suggests the exact opposite. If you're relying on human reflexes to distribute digital content, you are introducing severe mechanical inefficiencies into a system that, quite frankly, explicitly penalizes latency.
Which means, if you're a small business owner trying to break through the noise, or maybe you're an aspiring creator trying to get your first 1,000 true fans, or honestly just someone who wants to understand how digital influence is actually manufactured today, this deep dive is going to fundamentally reframe how you view the machinery of social media.
Really well.
Because it isn't a digital bulletin board, right? Where you just pin up a flyer whenever you happen to walk by.
Right.
It operates much more like an algorithmic trading floor.
That analogy maps perfectly to the reality of the distribution bottleneck that the text describes.
Right.
Let's just look at the sheer mechanics of visibility. What's fascinating here is that manual posting fundamentally curtails a creator's distribution reach.
And why is that, mathematically speaking?
Because human beings simply cannot consistently optimize for peak engagement times.
Yeah.
Social media feeds, they aren't chronological anymore. They are these dynamic, attention-weighted arenas. So to achieve any sort of visibility, your content must hit the network when the absolute highest density of your specific audience segment is online and active.
Okay, let's unpack this, because this is where the surfer analogy really works for me.
Oh, yeah, go for it.
It's like manual posting is like a surfer trying to catch a wave by swimming out exactly when the wave breaks.
Right, you're already too late.
Exactly. You're getting crushed by the white water, whereas automation is like paddling out early, sitting in the exact right spot, and just waiting for the swell to pick you up.
That's spot on. And the reason you get crushed if you're late is because of what we call engagement velocity.
Engagement velocity. Okay, break that down for us.
So if a creator posts manually, say, whenever they happen to finish editing a video, maybe it's, 11:30 p.m. on a Thursday because they finally got the kids to sleep.
A very real scenario for a lot of people.
Right, very common. But when you do that, the initial sample pool of users that the algorithm shows that video to is incredibly small. The algorithm tests your new content on a tiny fraction of your followers.
So it's basically running a focus group.
Exactly. And if those few people in the focus group are asleep, or maybe you're just mindlessly doom scrolling without actually interacting, the content generates zero engagement velocity in its first 10 minutes.
Wait, really? Just 10 minutes?
Yeah, that 10-minute window is absolutely critical. Recommendation engines use early interaction velocity as a predictive modeling tool. If the velocity is low in those first few minutes, the machine learning model assigns a really low relevant score to the asset and just buries it.
And then the creator wakes up the next morning, sees the low views, and thinks, oh no, my audience didn't like my video.
Exactly. The manual poster interprets it as a creative failure. But the system architecture simply recorded that the asset failed to retain attention during its test phase. The inherent delays and, frankly, the chaotic scheduling of a normal human life mean you are constantly launching your best content into dead zones.
It's basically like day trading stocks based on a gut feeling while you're competing against high-frequency algorithmic trading bots.
That's a great way to put it.
Like, the human day trader is sitting at a desk, super stressed out, watching a chart, and they execute a trade manually a few seconds after the market moves. By the time their order goes through, the price is already corrected. But the algorithmic bot, it was programmed with the strategy beforehand and executed the trade the exact millisecond the mathematical conditions were met.
Yes. Automation and content creation places you in the position of the bot. You are loading the strategy into the system so it deploys when the network conditions are mathematically perfect for your audience's behavior patterns.
Oh, wait, let me push back on this a little bit. Isn't reacting to a trend manually the literal definition of being real time? Like, if I want to be timely, I have to be the one holding the phone, right?
The text actually pushes that concept further when discussing fast-moving trends. The immediate assumption most creators make is exactly what you just said, that manual posting is required to be real-time. If a trend emerges on TikTok or X, the conventional wisdom is to drop everything, film a reaction, and post it immediately.
Right. Jump on the wave while it's forming.
But the research argues this is a strategic trap. Manual posting actually makes you slower to react.
Walk through the mechanics of that. I mean, if I see a meme format exploding at, say, 10:00 a.m., and I grab my phone, shoot my take, edit it, write a caption, research the right tags, and have it live by 11:00 m, that feels incredibly agile to me. Why is the text arguing that this manual approach is actually a hindrance?
You have to look at the cognitive load and the baseline operations required in your scenario. In order for you to do that at 10:00 a.m., you had to halt all your other deep work to execute that trend response.
Okay, yeah, my whole morning is derailed.
Exactly. Now imagine a creator who uses advanced scheduling tools. Their baseline content, their foundational educational posts, their standard weekly videos, their community polls. It is all already automated and scheduled for the entire month.
Oh, wow. So their baseline is just running in the background.
Right. Their administrative plate is entirely clear. So when that same meme trend hits at 10:00 a.m., they aren't scrambling to balance their normal workload with the trend. They have a structured methodology that affords them the surplus bandwidth to conceptualize a highly strategic, high-quality response rather than a rushed, frantic one.
They aren't playing catch up with their own to-do list. The baseline is handled by the system. That makes total sense. It means their reaction to the trend isn't just fast, it's actually calibrated. They have the mental space to think, like, how does this trend actually serve my specific audience, rather than just frantically participating for the sake of participating.
Yes, exactly. The bottleneck isn't just about the physical speed of pressing publish. It's about the speed of strategic processing. When your distribution is entirely manual, every single post requires executive function. You are forcing your brain to switch contexts from creative ideation to logistical deployment multiple times a day.
And context switching is brutal on the brain.
It is. And the text argues that this context switching inherently limits your output capacity, thereby confining you to a smaller audience footprint. You simply lack the strategic adaptability to scale.
Which naturally introduces the platform's perspective, because if manual posting limits your ability to hit peak times and reduces your overall volume, you run directly afoul of the algorithm's primary appetite. And the source text spends a significant amount of time breaking down this algorithmic demand for three specific variables: timeliness, consistency, and relevance.
Yeah, and this really requires an understanding of what social media platforms are actually optimizing for. They're not optimizing for the best art.
Right, they don't care about your beautiful cinematography.
No, they don't. They are optimizing for session duration, period.
Hmm.
The longer a user stays on the platform, the more ad inventory the platform can sell. Therefore, the algorithm basically functions as a habit formation engine. It observes user behavior, categorizes it, and builds predictive models.
So when a creator establishes a rigid, consistent posting schedule through automation, they are basically feeding the machine incredibly clean, reliable data.
Precisely. The text explains this dual nature of consistency. It's not just about the code, it's about human psychology too. But from the code perspective, if a creator's automated system pushes a high-retention video every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at precisely 8:00 a.m., the algorithm quickly learns to anticipate that data node.
It recognizes that this specific account is a reliable partner in its goal of keeping users on the app during their morning commute.
Exactly. The algorithm interprets that consistency as a signal of high relevance and reliability.
Mm.
It effectively upgrades the creator's internal ranking. But as I mentioned, the psychological impact on the end user is equally profound. The text notes that inconsistent posting actually isolates creators from their target audience because it fails to establish a behavioral habit loop.
Here's where it gets really interesting to me. It's literally operant conditioning. The audience needs predictability to form a habit. I mean, think about watching a favorite TV show.
Oh, that's a perfect example.
If a network aired episodes of a hit show randomly, like maybe on different days at different times, say Tuesday at 4 p.m. one week and then Sunday at midnight the next, even the biggest fans would eventually just stop tuning in.
They'd give up. The friction is too high.
Right. The mental effort required to find the content outweighs the reward of consuming it. The algorithm is basically just enforcing the audience's underlying desire for a reliable schedule.
And the research emphasizes that failing to deliver timely content creates doubt. In an attention economy characterized by, infinite supply, doubt is an absolute audience killer. If a user logs in expecting your content and it isn't there, maybe because you were stuck in traffic and couldn't manually post it on your phone,
They don't patiently wait for you.
no, they don't wait at all. They immediately substitute your content with an alternative source that better meets their structural expectations.
They fill the void instantly.
And once they fill that void, the algorithm adjusts. It notes that the user engaged with a competitor's content during the time slot, usually reserved for you. So the next time you do manage to manually post, you are fighting an uphill battle to reclaim that algorithmic real estate. Your inconsistent human schedule directly degrades your immediate interaction metrics, like likes, shares, watch time, which then triggers a negative feedback loop, completely suppressing your future reach.
Okay, but I have to play devil's advocate here. Because there is a very common defense creators use at this exact point in the conversation.
I think I know what you're going to say.
The argument is that adhering to a rigid, automated schedule feels robotic. That if I am just posting to feed a mathematical machine at precise intervals, doesn't that make the content feel robotic to the actual human on the other side? Like it loses its soul.
It's a valid fear, but the text directly challenges that defense by separating the delivery mechanism from the content's actual substance. Humans crave structure. They find deep comfort in reliable systems. The audience does not perceive a scheduled post as robotic. They perceive it as professional and dependable.
That's a huge distinction.
It is. Giving your audience the gift of predictability actually builds deep psychological trust. You're respecting their time by showing up exactly when they expect you to.
And when you inevitably break that trust, because, let's face it, human beings are biologically incapable of mechanical consistency, the damage is very measurable. I mean, the source material points to a sharp drop in those crucial interaction metrics when creators rely on their own memory or their daily availability to publish. You are essentially gambling your entire brand's equity on whether or not you have a busy Tuesday.
Which naturally transitions the discussion to the internal psychological toll this takes on the creator. The text explores the concept of the creative drain, which honestly is arguably the most insidious consequence of manual posting.
Because we've established that the machine demands relentless consistency, right?
Right. And when a human being attempts to replicate that machine-like consistency through sheer willpower, the cognitive cost is devastating.
Let's analyze the biology of that cost for a second. The text mentions that repetitive, time-consuming tasks drain mental resources that are absolutely essential for innovative thinking. This isn't just some metaphor about feeling tired at the end of the day. It is rooted in cognitive psychology, specifically decision fatigue.
Oh, absolutely. Decision fatigue is huge here.
Because every single time a creator manually posts, they aren't just hitting one button, they're making dozens of micro decisions. Like, what time is it? Which platform am I on? Did I write the caption correctly? Should I use this tag or that tag? Is the thumbnail cropped right? Did the upload fail?
And each of those micro decisions consumes glucose in the brain's prefrontal cortex. The executive function required to manage logistics shares the exact same neural pathways required for high-level creative problem solving.
So you're literally burning the fuel you need for your art.
Yes, if you deplete that cognitive battery, managing the administrative friction of an upload, you have fundamentally compromised your ability to write, film, or conceptualize new ideas. The text explicitly states that this depletion stifles inspiration, diminishes the quality of output, and leads directly to burnout and mental blocks.
There is also the psychological weight of the open loop. In psychology, there's this thing called the Zeigarnik effect. It dictates that the human brain remembers uncompleted or interrupted tasks significantly better than completed ones.
Right, is why cliffhangers work in movies.
Exactly. Unfinished tasks create this underlying constant state of cognitive tension. So if a creator wakes up knowing they, quote unquote, have to post a video today, but they haven't figured out what it is, when they will film it, or when they will post it, that requirement acts as a massive open loop running in the background of their mind all day long.
And that background anxiety is the enemy of the default mode network. That's the brain state where lateral thinking and true creativity actually occur. You cannot enter a deep flow state if a portion of your active memory is constantly monitoring the clock, terrified of missing a peak engagement window.
You're just in survival mode.
Exactly. And the source material argues that scheduling tools promote a disciplined approach that actively closes these open loops.
It's like comparing a creator to a head chef in a restaurant. If the head chef has to personally grow the vegetables, chop them, cook the meal, and then run out to the dining room to serve it to the table, which is basically what manual posting is, that the food is going to suffer.
The food will be terrible.
Right. But automation acts as the sous chef. It preps the ingredients, it handles the logistics, so the creator can focus purely on the recipe and the flavor. But let me ask you this. How does a disciplined approach and a structured methodology actually lead to more creativity? Some people think structure kills creativity.
It seems paradoxical to some people, sure, that introducing rigid automation software increases organic creativity. If we connect this to the bigger picture, automation is not about doing less work. It's about shifting energy from administrative labor to strategic, vibrant creativity. Constraints and reliable systems actually provide the foundation necessary for artistic risk-taking.
I love that phrase, artistic risk-taking.
Because if your baseline distribution is guaranteed by software, your Tuesday afternoon isn't spent panicking about what to post. It's spent experimenting with a wildly different format for next month because the pressure of immediate delivery has been completely eliminated.
The fear of the blank page is neutralized because the current page is already printing.
That's a brilliant way to phrase it. And this effectively cures this specific type of burnout the text identifies. Because burnout in the creator economy rarely comes from the act of making art. It comes from the relentless, grinding monotony of being your own social media manager, distributor, and data analyst all at once.
By freeing the creator from those monotonous activities, energy is redirected toward high-value ideation. You shift from a reactive state, just trying to get anything live to appease the algorithm, to a proactive state of strategic planning.
And this is why the research positions automation not merely as a convenience, but as a strategic necessity for long-term survival in the industry.
Okay, so let's say a creator gets this. They set up the sous chef. Once that baseline is established and the automation software is running the distribution schedule flawlessly, the creator is suddenly generating a massive amount of consistent output. And that output generates data.
Mountains data.
Right. Which brings us to a highly critical evolution in the creator's workflow. Moving from a localized creation mindset to a macroscopic analytical mindset, we have to look at the feedback loop. What does the text say about data analysis when it comes to manual versus automated posting?
The research makes a really compelling case that manual posting fundamentally restricts a creator's ability to analyze their own data effectively. When the workflow is entirely manual, the variables are simply too chaotic to derive any meaningful insights.
Give me an example of that.
Well, if a creator manually posts a video on a Wednesday afternoon and it underperforms, it is literally impossible to accurately diagnose the failure.
Because there is no scientific control.
Exactly. Was the video conceptually flawed? Or did it fail because it was posted at 3:14 p.m. instead of 5:00 p.m.? Did it fail because the creator forgot 3 crucial hashtags in their rush to publish from the grocery store line? Did it fail because they used a different thumbnail style? When the deployment process is subject to human error and inconsistency, the resulting data is entirely corrupted.
It's dirty data. You can't trust it.
You can't. But automated systems, by their very nature, isolate these variables. If the software is locked to post every Tuesday at 9:00 a.m. using a standardized metadata structure, the logistical variables are controlled. So if a piece of content underperforms in that highly regulated environment, the creator can definitively attribute the failure to the content format or the core message itself.
Because everything else was held constant.
Right. And this clean data is what enables the real-time analytics the text heavily emphasizes.
The text refers to this as creating an immediate feedback loop for agile, real-time adjustments. So, what does this all mean in practice? Like, let's break down what that actually looks like on a creator's dashboard, because we aren't just looking at vanity metrics like a total follower count here, right?
No, vanity metrics are pretty useless for strategy. Automated platforms provide granular insights into things like retention curves, scroll stop ratios, and click-through rates. A creator leveraging these automated systems can monitor the engagement metrics as they occur and run highly sophisticated A/B tests.
What kind of tests?
Well, for instance, the data might reveal a severe drop-off in audience retention at the exact 3-second mark of a video. That tells you definitively that your hook is ineffective. Or the analytics might show that while text-based polls generate massive interaction on LinkedIn, they completely flatline on X, whereas short-form video performs inversely on those platforms.
So, the immediate feedback loop allows the creator to pivot their content strategy with surgical precision. It's like imagine flying an airplane blindfolded. If you're flying manually without instruments and you hit turbulence, you are just guessing how to correct your pitch and yaw.
And you'll probably crash.
Exactly, you might overcorrect and tear the wings right off the plane. But automation provides a fully illuminated instrument panel. You can see the exact altitude and speed of your content strategy. You stop guessing what the audience wants and start reading the explicit behavioral signals they are leaving behind.
The source material argues that this data-driven approach optimizes future posting schedules and format development. You align your content strategy directly with audience preferences based on real activity.
But wait, a huge friction point arises here for creators.
The fear of selling out.
Exactly, the fear of losing their unique voice. The concern is that if I'm just looking at a dashboard and the dashboard says low effort, trendy dance videos get the highest engagement, a data-driven creator will be forced to abandon their nuanced, high-effort work just to feed those metrics. How do you prevent yourself from just chasing numbers?
That is the trap of misinterpreting the function of analytics. And the text provides a really good framework to avoid this. Data should dictate the format and the delivery vehicle, not the soul of the message.
Okay, spend on that.
If your core mission as a creator is to, let's say, teach complex historical concepts, and the real-time analytics show that your 45-minute audio lectures are losing 80% of the audience within the first 5 minutes, the data isn't telling you to stop teaching history. The data is telling you the delivery mechanism is causing friction for the modern user.
Ah, I see. So the message is fine, the packaging is wrong.
Precisely. A strategic pivot means you maintain the core historical message, but you adapt the packaging based on that immediate feedback loop. Perhaps you test synthesizing that lecture into a series of highly visual 2-minute automated reels. The analytics tell you the how and the when of audience consumption habits. The creator retains absolute control over the what and the why.
That's incredibly empowering, actually.
It is. By utilizing data to optimize the formatting, you are actually showing profound respect for the audience's preferred method of communication.
You are removing the friction between your idea and their brain. So if we step back and look at the architecture of what we've built here based on the research, the distribution is automated, hitting peak algorithmic windows flawlessly, the open cognitive loops are closed, eliminating decision fatigue, and returning the brain to a state of high creative output. The variables are isolated, providing pristine data that allows for agile format-level pivots. The entire logistical burden of social media has been handed over to software.
Which leaves a massive vacuum in the creator's daily workflow.
Right. What do they do with all that saved time?
And this raises an important question, which brings us to the ultimate thesis of the text. What is the highest and best use of the human being in this digital ecosystem? If the machines are handling the scheduling, the publishing, and the quantitative analysis, the creator must reinvest that reclaimed time into the one variable a machine fundamentally cannot replicate.
Authentic, unscalable human interaction.
Exactly. The text calls this the interaction imperative. And this is where the myth of the manual post is finally completely destroyed. Creators hold on to manual posting because they believe the act of pressing send is an act of intimacy with their audience.
But it isn't.
It really isn't. The audience gains zero value from knowing a human finger tapped a glass screen to upload an MP4 file. The audience derives value from the dialogue that happens after the file is uploaded.
But if the post is automated, isn't it disingenuous for me to hop into the comments as if I just hit send? I mean, doesn't it feel a little fake?
The source material is explicit here in drawing a distinction. Automate the delivery of the content, but manually provide the interaction. Simplifying the workflow and offloading routine administrative duties does not mean the creator vanishes. It means the creator transitions from a broadcaster to a community leader.
Okay, that makes sense.
The perception of being uncommitted or disengaged only occurs if you automate the broadcast and then completely abandon the platform. By utilizing scheduling tools, the creator can guarantee they are physically present at their keyboard, coffee in hand, relaxed, the exact moment the automated post goes live.
Because they aren't stressed about the upload process failing, they can immediately dive into the comments section. They can engage in the asymmetrical power of a direct reply.
Yeah, the direct reply is everything.
Because in the parasocial economy of the internet, a creator taking 10 seconds to write a thoughtful response to a viewer's comment, it generates a disproportionate amount of loyalty and trust. The text notes that focusing on this direct engagement is what cultivates deep community roots.
It creates a powerful moat around your brand. Algorithms will change. The platform's interface will evolve over the years. But a community built on genuine dialogue and ongoing interaction is platform agnostic.
They will follow you anywhere.
Exactly. The text emphasizes that this behavioral shift from manual distribution to manual interaction is what drives sustained, long-term growth. It converts passive consumers into active advocates for your work. You are establishing a recognizable, deeply human identity precisely because you outsourced the robotic elements of the job to actual robots.
Imagine trying to build that kind of deep community trust while simultaneously juggling the chaotic, anxiety-inducing process of manual posting. You just can't do it.
You'd burn out a month.
If you just spent 45 minutes fighting with an app to get a video to upload properly, the last thing you want to do is spend another hour joyfully interacting with strangers in the comments. You are exhausted. The automation protects your emotional bandwidth so you can actually enjoy the community you are trying to build.
And that answers the lingering doubt some creators have about the authenticity of automated tools. An audience does not feel betrayed by the use of a content calendar.
Right. They just want the content.
Consider the architecture of an email newsletter. The subscriber knows the author didn't sit down at 6:00 a.m. on a Sunday and manually hit send to 100,000 individual email addresses simultaneously.
That would be absurd.
Right. They understand it is managed by a platform like MailChimp or Substack. The authenticity lies in the quality of the prose within the email and the author's willingness to reply when a subscriber hits respond.
The mechanism of delivery is completely irrelevant to the consumer. The reliability and quality of the interaction are paramount. By prioritizing engagement over manual tasks, you position yourself to build a dynamic presence that thrives on ongoing dialogue. You are no longer a victim of the algorithm's appetite. You are actually leveraging the algorithm to facilitate real human connection.
This represents a complete paradigm shift in how we approach digital growth. The research in Beyond the Feed proves that holding on to the artisanal manual approach in an environment governed by high-speed machine learning is not noble. It is self-sabotage.
It really is.
The visibility trap will bury your reach. The algorithm will penalize your inconsistency. The cognitive drain will destroy your creativity. And the lack of variable isolation will just blind you to your own data.
To survive and scale, the logistics must be automated. The content calendar is not some, corporate constraint. It is a defensive wall built to protect your creative energy. The real-time analytics are not replacing your intuition. They are giving your intuition a map. And the time saved is not an excuse to work less. It is the capital required to invest heavily in the interaction imperative, building the community loyalty that actually sustains a career in this space.
Well said. Embracing automation tools paves the way for a much more robust online presence because it forces the creator to operate at the highest strategic level, rather than getting lost in the tactical weeds of daily execution.
So, if you are listening to this right now, whether you're managing a brand, scaling a startup, or just trying to get your art seen by the right people, it is time to audit your workflow. Every single minute you spend manually moving a digital file from your phone to a server is a minute you stole from your audience and a minute you stole from your own creative potential.
Couldn't agree more.
Prioritizing efficiency is not selling out. It is the baseline requirement for participation in the modern digital arena.
And once you accept that premise, a very interesting psychological shift occurs.
It does, and it's the exact thought I want to leave everyone with today. We've spent this entire deep dive analyzing the architecture of distribution. We've proven that software can perfectly handle the when and the where. We've established that analytics will clearly dictate the how and the what of your formatting. But think about the terrifying freedom that creates. If you strip away all the busy work, all the logistical excuses of, oh, I just don't have time to post today, or I can't figure out the algorithm if all the machinery is flawlessly automated and completely out of the way, the only variable remaining in the equation is who you are. Are you prepared for the reality that once your distribution is perfect, your success or failure rests entirely on an actual undeniable quality of your idea?